What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we are talking about a viral interview Congressman Tim Burchett did about UFOs with Tucker Carlson.
He said that thing was 14 feet. He went like this from my canopy.
You don't think this is our technology?
No.
It was doing 200 miles an hour underwater.
Underwater, big as a football field. And that's no fish.
What the hell are these things? That's like an even deeper concern.
Yeah. We've had sworn testimony where they'll tell you, they'll say, yeah, I've seen beings.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Now, let's jump into this interview. All right, so Tim Burchett goes on Tucker Carlson and says a lot of things. And they pretty much just talk UFOs, although there are a few other things. But it is 90% UFOs. And honestly, it's quite interesting. I think regardless of how you feel about Tucker Carlson or Tim Burchett, it was just a nice conversation about UFOs.
Thank you, Congressman, for doing this. I never talk about
It's
UFOs.
Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Never talk about UFOs. We don't do shows on UFOs, UAPs, whatever they're calling them, these mysterious lights, these objects, because I know for a dead certain fact that there is an ongoing 70-year ongoing disinformation campaign by the U.S. government to sow confusion. Some people participating in that effort, I don't think they know they're participating in the effort, but they are nevertheless selling lies in an effort to get people off the trail of what this really is. There is something going on. What is it?
Now, let's jump into the meat of this interview, all right? Because Tim Burchett said quite a few things. There's some great sound bites here. So I broke it down into just some different parts that I thought were the best from this interview. And I've got 3 clips to show you. So let's start with clip number 1, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
What the hell are these things? That's like an even deeper concern.
Yeah.
The money's fake. We just make it.
Yeah, we just print it.
Yeah.
But we've had, what are they? We've had sworn testimony where they'll tell you, they'll say, yeah, I've seen beings. There's a movie coming out.
Hold on. And the testimony says this is sworn testimony.
Sworn testimony. They're beings, and there's saucers or some craft or something. But there's a movie coming out pretty soon, if it's ever allowed to come out. I was in it a little bit, and you have former members of the CIA. You have others that positively say they were there, and they identified these things. They diagnosed them, and they saw them. They saw the craft, and there's enough people out there saying it, but they're just so suppressed, and the media moves on so fast on something. And I've been on so many of these interviews, and they're playing the theme from some crazy TV show or something before I come on, and they're just making a joke out of it. And I get it. People want to laugh about it.
I don't get it at all.
Yeah. I mean, I get the fact.
It seems like an absolutely, it seems
they just want to humiliate me. And
it's a deadly serious topic, objectively speaking. And
it's a national defense issue. It's everything. It's everything.
Of course.
I mean, it's not a national, it's a world defense issue.
It's a lot more serious than Black Lives Matter or any of the other
100%.
nonsense that we've, become obsessed with over the past generation. So, that tells you right there that's part of an operation designed to discredit people who ask questions, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about something Tim Burchett just said. There's this documentary coming out called The Age of Disclosure, and it was featured at South by Southwest in March earlier this year, and people have been wondering, when is it coming out, right? People have talked about that a lot, and nobody knows, right? Tim Burchett kind of saying, I don't know if it's going to be allowed to come out, and, all these things. Well, take a listen to what Ross Coulthard just said days ago.
I heard a whisper that the Age of Disclosure documentary is going to be coming out soon, possibly on a limited cinema release and more broadly, possibly on Prime Amazon.
So it seems like it's going to the theaters and Amazon Prime. Doesn't sound like they're being silenced. Now, of course, we'll have to wait and see if that's actually true. But to be fair to Ross, that's also what I heard behind the scenes and through the grapevine. That same thing. So maybe that's true. We'll have to wait and see. But who he's talking about, potentially about the I saw beings and this. Now, he said they sworn testimony, but in the Age of Disclosure documentary, you have the former head of the UAPTF task force, the one that was David Grush's boss, Jay Stratton, saying in the Age of Disclosure documentary this.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
So I don't know if that's what Tim Burchett is talking about, but there's somebody saying it, right? And Jay Stratton is one of the most senior people ever in the history of the United States to come out and talk about UFOs and aliens. And then he says that in the Age of Disclosure documentary. He's got a book coming out. But you know what? He won't testify because he's a little scared, I guess, or something. That's what people said. I don't know. I just find that a little unusual. You're not willing to, swear to that under oath. Maybe because that happened in the course of his personal life and not his professional life. When did he see those beings? Right? No, nobody really knows, but we'll have to wait and see. And so it looks like maybe later this year we'll get Age of Disclosure on Amazon Prime. We'll have to wait and see, and maybe a little cinema release. That's interesting. All right, so let's get to clip number 2.
And I've had military personnel call me and tell me that they've chased these things. They've been in the water. I had one guy tell me a story. He was an officer, and he was in the water fishing off. I think it was on the East Coast, and this huge craft flew over them, and then these several jets were flying, trying to keep up with it. And he identified the jets because he was obviously an Air Force officer, and he said, "Look, I just want you to continue on this thing. You're not. A lot of people have seen stuff," and he said, "I have," and and I mean, he had a distinguished career, but it just continues on and on and on. And it gets, we get patted on the head and say, okay, you can have another hearing, and then we do it. But until somebody in the White House says disclose, or somebody walks out of one of these labs with something and and shows it and puts it on YouTube before he's allowed to commit suicide, I think that's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of it, because it will never, it's so deep. The layers of the onion is so deep, you just keep peeling it off, and it's just a different person, a different story. You go over here, and the naivety of Congress. You have members telling me, "Well, let's go over here and we'll get a tour of where you think these things are." I was like, dude, once we announce that, the U-Haul vans are already been there and gone. It's not that way. It's not going to work that way. Congress is not going to walk in there with all its magnificence and arrogance and find something.
So what's the point of these hearings and this legislation that we're trying to push through, right? I actually appreciate Tim Burchett's candor here. And to be honest, I agree. And I'm not even a member of Congress. But it does seem like, just what's the point? It's never going to happen. I mean, even Tim Burchett is saying this, right? They're not going to be able to go find this stuff. So even if they're told where to go, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to uncover anything. And it's like he said, it's going to take someone just coming out, putting on YouTube something crazy for it to happen. Basically, like catastrophic disclosure, as they describe it. Because this idea of controlled disclosure and these hearings and it's like, I mean, that's basically what he's saying. It's just, there's no reason. There's no point because of the secrecy and the pushback. And it's just like, you only got a few members of Congress who do it in their spare time, mind you. That's what Representative Luna said on Danny Jones, that these guys do this in their spare time.
What made you want to get involved in the whole UFO stuff?
I did not lead out the efforts. It was Representative Burchett, who's been on this for a while, and then we suggested a hearing on it last year or last Congress, and that's when you saw the David Grush hearing take place, which was one of the most widely watched and attended hearings in congressional history. And then after people realized that they wouldn't be called crazy, then they designated the task force to kind of look into it, because everyone in Congress is curious. Everyone. So that's what we do on our free time. And there's a lot to do. So this is kind of something that we've been able to do when we're not, battling it out on other issues in Washington.
Yeah.
Do you really think Congress in their spare time is going to, just a few members are going to break this wide open with one hearing a year or every 2 years or whatever, right? With third, fourth hand witnesses? Like it really just does seem like we're going nowhere with that. And again, that's why I prefer the average everyday person talking to about the phenomena. But, just to play devil's advocate, even to myself here, all right, I could still see some of the benefit of doing these steps, even if you feel like it's getting nowhere, because by doing it, it does move the needle in other ways. It gets people talking about it, conversing, this and that, just at bare minimum, right? So I can see the benefit in these things as well. But you can also highlight why it's not effective or why it's not working at the same time, right? Both can be true. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Are you surprised? I'm not. You're probably the same way. So that's all it is. It's like we're critical of this process that's happening. We kind of feel like it's going nowhere, but you know what? We need to do it because it does help in other ways, right? But just shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket there or have high expectations that that's where true disclosure is going to come from. All right, now let's move to clip number 3.
So in the course of your probing into this, no one's ever taken you aside and said, hey, Burchett, back off a little bit. This is our stuff. We don't want to disclose it.
Pretty close to that. Pretty close to that.
But you don't believe it. You don't think this is our technology.
No, I do not. There's no way. It is our no way is our technology. There's, I've talked to too many pilots. Why would we risk our best? I mean, I've talked to the best, Tucker, I've talked to the best pilots in the world that are ours. Some of them, not all of them, and that have told me. I mean, one guy, I remember I was at the Capitol Hill Club. It was just an unusual encounter. A guy had spoke to a group and he followed me out and said, Tim, or Congressman or whatever, he said, that thing was 14 feet. And he went like this from my canopy. And I thought to myself, why didn't he say 15? Why didn't he say 20? But he said 14. And then he said, this thing, it wasn't ours. He said, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't ours. And that's all he said. And I had a very high-ranking member of the Navy describe some underwater experiences they'd had with something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40.
It was doing 200 miles an hour underwater?
Underwater, big as a football field. And that's no fish.
There's a lot to unpack there, of course, especially this thing there at the end, right? This football field-sized object moving under the water while this guy's fishing in Tim Burchett. That's no fish. Love it. It's got a great soundbite. And yeah, I would tend to agree that's not a fish, but it could be. Have you seen killer whales? They're huge. Not saying they're that big, but they're not small. And when you start getting into that size, how accurate is he? You know what I mean? With that. So, but I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's interesting. But it was moving fast, right? I mean, how does he clock that? I don't know. Again, 200 miles an hour is so fast. I mean, that's just like, you know what I mean? I don't even know if you'd be able to gauge the size of it depending on how close it is to you. But regardless, I'm not trying to say it's a fish. The idea that Tim Burchett has been told, hey, this is our stuff, kind of lay off. And then it's like, no way. Continues to push through, right? That's interesting. What exactly was he told? The answer can't be, you don't think this is ours. No way. It can't be. It just possibly can't be. That can't be the evidence. Does that make sense? Because you can't comprehend it, then that's the evidence that it is this other thing. I can get him saying, no, I don't think it is. I just don't feel that. But he seems adamant that it is not 100%. And that's an interesting place to be. Because again, what proof, Tim Burchett, have you seen? You've heard a lot of compelling evidence and just evidence, but proof. So it could still be ours. We don't know that. And maybe, let's be real, truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this other thing. I don't know. But I have to say that this interview was honestly quite interesting to listen to, and it brought up a lot of ideas and discussions and topics worth kind of diving further, right? A lot of threads to pull. So again, I'll put a link down in the description. Please go check it out, and we'll see you guys on the next one, Vetters. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Patrick, hey, this is Paul Simones. I am the tour guide for the Roswell UFO tour in downtown Roswell. I'm sitting here with Dr. Tim Mounts, the host of All Things Unexplained, and some other friends. We have just finished an epic smackdown in a bar in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. A fun little thing. And hey, we just noticed that you put up a video that riffs off of the hey, good to see you, fellow. Good to meet you. Good to meet you. Hey, so Patrick, I wanted to comment on. It looks like you're going to do a video on the Jesse Marcel recently released interview that Lee Spiegel did circa 1980 that was put out on Ryan Sprague's podcast. So the central claim, which of course David Marler and Ryan Sprague kind of made much of, was that Marcel does not believe that there was a gouge, and he thought that the thing ran from northeast to southwest. I wanted to let you know, Patrick, that is not new information. That has been out in the literature. It has been known. It is a known contradiction between Marcel's recollections and the overall body of the research. It's not new, but I think there are new things, important context in that never-before-heard Marcel interview. Although I will say, me and my research partner, Toby Martinez of the Roswell Daily Record, heard the interview a year ago. This is just the first time it's been digitized. Anyway, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I would love to kind of straighten out what's new and what's not. There are important things there, important context. And anyway, just thought I'd let you know. We're at a bar. I hope you can hear this. Anyway, if not, what, Tim wants to say something? Dr. Mouse, host of All Things Unexplained.
Patrick, what's up? Holler at me sometime. Be careful on UFO Twitter, all right?
All right, take care. Love your show. And just want to make sure you get the best info out there. All right, peace.